Jami-Lee Ross.
Mr Speaker, this bill, the Taxation, Transformation, First Phase, Simplification, Other Measures Bill, contains a range of measures and options in which we can simplify and make the inland revenue system easier for people, easier for businesses to interact with the government, and basically try and reduce some of the burden that people feel in their lives from government and the tax system. Far from the characterisation of Mr Tabuteau where he said it's an attack on individuals. In fact, Mr Speaker, this is all about making the lives of individuals a lot easier. Mr Speaker, many of the measures outlined in the bill have been covered by some of the earlier speeches on this bill. I just want to respond to a few of the things I've heard in the past few speeches from Mr Tabuteau and Julian Genter. Firstly, I want to tackle this comment from Mr Tabuteau that supposedly the New Zealand tax system is overburdened and it's very difficult for New Zealanders, and when he compares it to the US tax system that he did and tries to say that we're overburdened compared to the United States, I think he makes a mockery of himself because, Mr Speaker, as Julian Genter herself pointed out, the New Zealand tax system is far simpler than the US tax system, and New Zealanders are far better off because of that. We're not the only ones saying that, though. Let me just say that, point out that the Tax Foundation in Washington, DC finds that New Zealand has the second most competitive tax system in the OECD. And most respondents to the Deloitte's 2014 Asia-Pacific Tax Complexity Survey rated New Zealand's tax policies as straightforward, consistent and predictable compared to other countries in the region. We do not have an overburdened tax system, Mr Speaker. I also want to respond to some of the comments from Julian Genter. I mean, she started off her speech, it sounded like a bit of a stump speech that didn't have much relationship to the bill itself, but she was talking about children and how we've missed an opportunity supposedly to make the lives of children easier through this tax bill. Well, Mr Speaker, can I just point out that this government is the government that is putting more money in the pockets of those at the bottom who need help through the benefit system. We're the government who is lifting achievement levels in the education system for children. We're the government that's creating more jobs in the economy, which ultimately benefits children. So, Mr Speaker, when we hear comments from the Green Party that we're not doing enough to help children through this tax bill, we have to point out those measures. Mr Speaker, this bill is all about reducing some of the complexity in the tax system. My colleagues have talked about measures like electronic signatures, about reducing the time frames that people have to wait to get their tax return. We've talked about the fact that there's greater information sharing amongst government departments. All of those things make it easier for New Zealanders to interact with IRD, make it easier for them to comply with their tax obligations, and this is all about making the tax system simpler for them, and it will be better for New Zealanders in the long run.